Today's cheat sheet. It's Friday, August 2nd. Programming note. The cheat sheet will return in a little more than a week. A week from this upcoming Monday. I'm out next week. Okay, let's get to it. Cheat sheet Q&A today. Understanding Medicare. Question comes from a listener. She said that she's a little confused. She said first she believes that you're eligible for Medicare at 65, but her question is, can you opt out of Medicare if you don't want to get on it? And she has a secondary question about her husband. She said that her husband, they believed he was already on Medicare because money was being deducted from his Social Security check for it. And he ended up going to the doctor, presented his information, and they said he didn't have Medicare, he had Freedom Health. So what's going on? Okay, here's the first thing. Yes, you are eligible the day you turn 65. In fact, you have a little time before you actually become 65 to go ahead and pre-enroll so that on your 65th birthday, Medicare is active. But to the question about can you opt out, the answer is yes, but. And here's the but. You cannot opt out if you're already on Social Security. If you're already on Social Security, you will be on Medicare as of your 65th birthday, and they will begin deducting for it. There's really no way of opting out once you're on Social Security. In fact, there have been several court challenges over this, the most recent in 2011, and the courts have continued to find that, yeah, you can't separate the two. You're on Social Security, you're on Medicare, or at least you're going to pay for it. That's the first thing. If you're not on Social Security at 65, then yes, you can choose not to go on to it right then. There's another but, though. You could be charged a 10% per year penalty. In other words, made to pay 10% of what your portion of Medicare costs would have been every year. Now, that rarely happens. It's very rare that it happens, but just know that the potential exists for that to occur. Now, about this Freedom Health thing. Okay, here's what goes on. Freedom Health is something that's specific to Florida, and I think that the doctor that your husband saw was just outright confused. Freedom Health is a coordinated care plan that is part of Medicare Advantage, that is part of the Florida Medicaid program. So indeed, it is a form of Medicare, and if the doctor didn't understand what it was or accept it, you might want to seek another doctor. But your husband indeed is paying for and does have a Medicare supplement there. Okay, let's take a look at freedom of speech real quick on Twitter, or the lack thereof. Do you have freedom of speech on Twitter? The answer actually is no, because Twitter is a private company, and so you have a code of conduct you have to adhere to, and they could kick you off if you violate it. So that's kind of the first thing. But that notwithstanding, if Twitter doesn't have a problem with what you say, do you have freedom of speech? Here's what's going on. We're seeing a dramatic increase, greater than 40% in the first 6 months of this year, of governments, 3/4 of which are requests by the United States government, for personal information about the users of accounts of Twitter based upon things you say. And commonly what they look for, anti-Semitic statements, very harsh religious statements generally, and they're just looking for things that they might profile as being a problem. So before you go and just rant using Twitter or other forms of social media, know that your rant could get you on the radar of the federal government or international governments even. And then they will just start collecting information about you, not only from Twitter, but everywhere else online. This is the changing world we live in. I don't exactly care for it either, but it's better to be aware than not. For the economy. I've been mentioning, I believed that Europe is in the midst of bottoming. And I actually think now, taking a further look at Europe, that they're going to be out of recession next year. That's kind of cool. It's been a while. And that's definitely good news for them and good news for us and American multinational companies. I also think that it's part of a story that is playing out. The economy indeed is picking up steam. I went ahead and took a look at the third quarter, putting in the latest information about the second quarter economic growth at 1.7%. And here's what I've got. I believe the economy is picking up steam in the United States, and my estimate for third quarter economic growth is 2.1 to 2.3%. This should continue to show halfway decent job growth, given the pent-up hiring that I think is starting to take place. And the even better news, if things stay on track, I believe that the economy will continue to ramp up its growth rate into and through the fourth quarter of this year. The Affordable Care Act not being enforced against businesses for next year, I think, is a big part of the help on the hiring front. And the more hiring that occurs, the more disposable income, the greater the economy will grow. And here's one I'll leave you with. Your TV potentially watching you. No, really. I never really mentioned that I have this weird thing about cameras on TVs and even cameras on computers. I have never used a camera that's built in on a computer, or certainly one on a TV. And I've been weird about that because the thought is, if I can see somebody and if I initiate a session, they can see me, what's to keep somebody else from being able to sneak in and peek on you at any given time? Especially when you have things connected to the internet all the time. Well, I have this little saying, it's not a conspiracy if it's actually happening. And guess what? This actually happened. The Samsung smart TVs, they were all hacked. Every one of them. If you have a Samsung smart TV, guess what might have happened to you? People might have been watching you at any time. That really was taking place. Theoretically, this has been fixed, but hackers got into the Samsung smart TVs, and so at any time, they could be watching you through your TV, in your living room, in your bedroom, wherever you had this thing. So be aware that with these technologies, there are opportunities with internet-ready connections on them for impropriety to take place, and Lord knows what might be out there about you. For the complete cheat sheet, go to WJNO, Rush Radio 94.7, or WBZT. And again, see you after vacation.